rescue mission in eastern Bosnia. Remembering the horror of the Holocaust. And Lust for Life, Canada's outrageous Irving Layton.
CTV News with Sandie Ronaldo.
Good evening. Canadian peacekeepers are in one of the world's most dangerous places tonight. They arrived in Srebrenica, Bosnia, on a convoy of trucks today. Thousands of Muslim civilians greeted the Canadians with applause, cheers, and hugs. Their town has been under siege by Serb forces since Bosnia's civil war began a year ago. The peacekeepers will help hundreds of wounded Muslims leave town. Today, a fragile ceasefire allowed the most seriously injured to be flown to safety. With more on the rescue, here is ABC's Charles Glass.
UN helicopters finally made it into Srebrenica after the heaviest week of shelling the village has seen. They came for the wounded men, civilians and soldiers. The Bosnian Muslim commanders wanted them safely out of the village before they would permit the thousands of civilians trapped under Serbian artillery to leave. Then the wounded came to Tuzla. With them were a few women and children who were injured in the final days of shelling. With today's deployment of these 145 Canadian UN troops to Srebrenica, the UN is successfully implementing its truce accord. The Canadians plan to collect the weapons of the Bosnian Muslim soldiers by noon on Wednesday. The village and its inhabitants will then be defenseless. But the UN commander in Bosnia warned the Serbs against attacking.
An attack on a demilitarized city where the protection is guaranteed by UN protocol will be a declaration of war against the whole world.
The Bosnian Muslim wounded soldiers have effectively admitted defeat. Their comrades in Srebrenica have agreed to hand over their weapons to UN soldiers. While they've been beaten by the Serbs in eastern Bosnia, the Bosnian Muslims have come under attack in western Bosnia from their allies, the Croatians. Charles Glass, ABC News, Tuzla.
There was a setback today in efforts to end Bosnia's civil war. The leader of the Bosnian Serbs has threatened to pull out of international peace talks. His comments were apparently prompted by new pressure on the Serbs from the United Nations. The UN Security Council voted last night to tighten sanctions on what is left of Yugoslavia next week if the Serbs fail to sign a peace plan. A simmering political crisis exploded in Pakistan today. The country's president fired the prime minister, dissolved the government, and ordered fresh elections for July. In Islamabad, troops took over the state television and radio, and trucks loaded with soldiers guarded the parliament building. The president dissolved the assembly after accusing Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif of corruption. Sharif blasted the dissolution as illegal and said he'll fight his dismissal in court. South Africa is bracing for more trouble tomorrow. That is when Chris Hani will be laid to rest. The charismatic black leader was assassinated 8 days ago by a white gunman. Since then, a wave of violence has swept South Africa. It continued today in a black township near Johannesburg. At least 17 people died when black gunmen opened fire from a stolen car. Police don't know if that township slaughter is related to Hani's death, but the killings came as Hani's body lay in state. Susan Hack reports.
They came by the tens of thousands from around the country to pay their final respects to Chris Hani. An honor guard of African National Congress soldiers carried Hani's body into a stadium in Soweto, South Africa's largest black township. It took more than 7 hours for mourners to file past the open coffin. They included top ANC leaders and thousands of ordinary people. This woman, like so many others, was overcome with grief at the death of one of the country's most popular black leaders. Hani's family grimly said goodbye to a father and a husband.
May the Lord of life be all.
Reflecting some of the oddities of South Africa, Hani, the head of the Communist Party and an avowed atheist, received a religious ceremony. Soldiers saluted